Hey gang, I so wanted to record a new episode this week, but just not up to it as of yet. Healing, but not quite healed yet. Well, here's a flashback Thursday from January of 2017. I hope you enjoy. Until next week. Hello all. Last week seemed like a long week, didn't it? I hope it was prosperous and productive for you. Welcome to Warehouse and Operations as a Career, where we discuss the positions and opportunities within the warehouse, transportation, and operations worlds. I'm Marty, and our sole objective is to help today's young men and women break into the field, even if it's through a general labor task, and give them the pathway, keywords, and experiences through our discussions and interviews to advance into mid-management, senior management, and really beyond. We don't have anything to sell, just a lot of experience and experiences, some thoughts and probably way too many opinions, and the time to share them and pass them along. One thing I'd like to mention, I found this on, I believe it was Twitter, at Manager's Diary. It's a quote from Elbert Hubbard. It states, "Do your work with all your heart and you will succeed." I don't know of too many words that are much truer than that right there. Usually we publish a show once a week on Thursdays, talking about different positions, how maybe we can earn those promotions, and quite a bit on safety each week. Occasionally I run across a situation or have some of those opinions or thoughts I'd like to share, so we publish it as kind of a special episode, so as to not take us off of our path to reach our goals and, mess up our career plans. Today I'd like to share a few situations I encountered last week and talk about a few responsibilities we each have on our new jobs. Early last week I heard a complaint from an over-the-road driver, and I've heard it many times, and I occasionally, hear about the complaints from different areas of the warehouse world. And as I was traveling around to the different types of facilities, I shared it a couple of times, just passing it along in hopes of avoiding, the same situation happening again. I guess you could say maybe thinking I was doing a bit of training along the way. I felt like it could be a great customer service opportunity, but while speaking with several lumpers and warehousemen, I kind of got the feeling that one, they didn't know it was a part of their job, not anything specific, but how we should always be focused on what's, the right thing to do and what's the wrong way of doing things. And two, knowing that they had been trained to be focused, maybe that they had forgotten, well, maybe not forgotten, but weren't paying enough attention to the customer service aspect of their jobs or task. We all, every job I can think of has a customer. Back in my day, it was called setting the plate for the next shift. For that person or the position that handled the item or the pallets after us, usually ending up with the drivers and the transportation departments. Think about it for a minute. The lumper may have two customers, like the driver that he is unloading. He or she has other stops on the truck. We need to keep it organized, keep their trailer clean, and not damage anybody else's products. And if we have to move any pallets around, we'll need to keep the weight distributed properly as well, or put them back in the same positions that we found them. His or her second customer could be the receiver. We'll need to segregate and separate the product properly, stack it according to the proper tie and high, and place it properly in its staging area or, holding area so that it can be received correctly. Oh, and maybe we could count the forklift or put-away person as our customers too. We need to make sure it's stacked on a good pallet, placed squarely on the pallet, and stacked tightly, maybe even wrapping it to, ensure that it's ready to be racked. The receiver's customers, and there can be many of those too, I guess. The lumpers, keeping the product tagged, received, and making them plenty of room to keep working. And maybe the fork drivers, keeping him plenty of product to haul, keeping him or her busy, and of course all the company's accounts product as well, making sure it's the right items and the right counts. Then of course the forklift drivers' customers could be the order selectors. Maybe even inventory control. He or she needs to get the product to the right slot and get it up in the reserves, slots properly. Customers for selectors may very well be the checkers, the shipping clerk. A lot of places are using auditors now to double check the pallets, double check the loads. Ending up, of course, with maybe the delivery driver, And the list really kind of goes on and on. I feel customer service is a part of every position that I can think of, and really, isn't it just doing the job right? Speaking of transportation and the driver, that may very well be the toughest job in operations. Not because it's so physical necessarily, but the buck always stops with them. Salesmen, brokers, dispatchers, they can say just about anything to get someone off their back, and the driver has to meet and fulfill all those promises that they don't really know anything about. I like to think of them as the CEO or president of their loads. They have all the responsibilities for it. They have to answer for everyone else's mistakes from the customer and has the least amount of control of their whole delivery day. We'll talk a lot more about drivers and their challenges in a later episode, though. It's a very interesting and rewarding career as well. Where was I now? Oh yeah, I really do think we should all try to pay more attention and focus intently on what we do affects the next task in line, and that it really is just doing our jobs correctly. Wikipedia states, and you all know how much I like looking up definitions all the time. Customer service is the provision of service to customers before, during, and after a purchase. And it kind of goes on and on. Couldn't we apply that thought process to the person handling the freight after us? Shouldn't we all always try and set the plate for the next shift or the next person, the next task in line after us? Anyway, back to my short story. So this driver backs in, hires the lumper service to unload several pallets. The lumper pulls off, his part of the load. Evidently had to move quite a few pallets around inside the trailer to get this stop's product out so that it could be worked, and then ran the other pallets that had been moved down the wall of the trailer. The driver pays for the services, got the bill signed, and pulled away from the dock, got ready to close the door, and discovered the rest of the load was now ran down one side of the trailer, and of course the weight distribution was now way off. The driver had to go back in and get it corrected before they could hit the road again, of course. To make matters worse, there was a little bit of a delay in getting someone with a jack to go over and get it corrected. Of course, nothing was really done intentionally, but his customer, being the driver, was really disserviced in this instance. A quick example that we can all relate to, we all get really upset when going through a drive-through window, fast food drive-through, with our children, only to find when we get home that part of our order wasn't put in the bag or that special sandwich order just wasn't done correctly. I bet our first thoughts is of that employee that didn't do their job correctly. Probably not in those nice of terms, though. It's all really the same thing. The task just isn't done if it's not done correctly, and I think it all starts with the mindset of doing it right and staying focused on the task. Yep, now it's really hard. I mean, it truly is hard. Distractions are all around us all day long, but remember, we're only in our present position short term. We're in it for the experience, and our goal is to be recognized by our management team as the absolute best at it. The easiest way of doing that is just staying focused on the task when we're on the floor and performing the job right. It's just important that we all stay focused, do our jobs the best that we can, and remember our goal is to earn that next task, that next position, and that next promotion. One other thing I ran into this week in one of the powered industrial equipment classes that was scheduled, and it was a full class of 6 new associates. One of the young gentlemen didn't really understand, or maybe it had been poorly explained to him that the class was 4 hours long and he would need to be on-site at the facility later that day. A long story short, and I wasn't actually there for the class, but after investigating, I found that the associate probably could have handled his frustrations a bit better. Remember, from the time that we send in our resume, we're asking for a job. Everything that we do and say from that moment on is a reflection of our character and may be reviewed or considered by our prospective employer, and once hired, we'll be meeting many others within the company, and that each one of them is really interested in us. We're going to make their job much easier. But make no mistake, we're also being sized up for our experience and how well we'll fit in. In other words, can we perform the job and do it well? Now, the company has a responsibility to give us the proper opportunity to succeed as well. The right training and the chance to show them we're a perfect fit for this task and perfect for the job, but It's our responsibility to treat everyone with respect and understand that there's processes and procedures that have to be followed, that we'll have to follow as well. We've asked for a job and we've been given that job. By all means, if we're asked to do something that we feel is wrong, unethical, or not safe, we need to speak up immediately, but let's be professional in everything that we do. It's never going to go our way if we raise our voices or make a scene in any way. A new job is very stressful to begin with. Remember, we have a lot to learn about how to perform it and how our team works together to get it accomplished. While we're just reviewing the week, I'll share one more story that I really struggled with. I hadn't planned on sharing it today, but it really kind of bothered me. Maybe not the situation in particular, but the human nature side of it I struggled with for a bit. We've discussed that pesky human trait in a couple of different episodes, and I find it keeps popping up throughout my career, and I still haven't learned to really ignore it. Not figured out how we let it overcome us in our jobs as often as we do. A lumper, I'd call him an accomplished unloader, a professional individual. I know he's worked at least like 3 places over the last 4 years, and for the last 4 months had been working at a facility that he had previously worked at before. By all accounts, he's a great guy, works really hard, shows up every day, but feels it's his responsibility to watch out for everyone else. And that's his words, not really mine. He punched out and left before completing a special load that he was scheduled to unload at the end of the day. When his supervisor called him, he stated that there were 2 guys still there and that they could unload it, but he was too far away to turn around. The following morning, upon arrival to his job, he was spoken to, of course, and issued a corrective action warning. Really just kind of told not to let it happen again, that the team all rotated throughout the month for those last couple of trailers, and when it's his turn, he just needed to stick around and wrap it up real quick. This evening load usually takes less than about 20 minutes to complete. Well, the gentleman took it upon himself to start arguing with his supervisor and pointing out different instances that spanned over like a 3-month period where others had done a variety of different things and wasn't really addressed with him that he felt that way. The supervisor explained that those infractions were actually addressed and that he couldn't always share disciplinary actions with everyone, but that they needed to stick to the conversation at hand and let's just correct the situation going forward. He'd ask him to calm down and let's wrap up today's loads. The employee wouldn't really let it drop and eventually was asked to take the day off, go home and calm down and come back to work the next day ready to do the job and work as a team. We need to take care of our own jobs. Let's remember that. Of course, if we ever feel an injustice is occurring or a member of management is not doing his or her job in a professional manner or being fair to everyone, we have the right and we should go to the next person in line and share our concerns. That's really their job. That's what they're there for. It is not our job, though, to be concerned with other crew members' jobs, nor should we assume that we know how others have been dealt with. We're on our career path, and we have our own goals in mind. We should do our job and be concerned with doing it to the very best of our ability. Again, I understand sometimes it's difficult to follow directions. It'd probably be easier if we know the why, but that's just not always going to be, the case. Let's do our part. Do it well. Go cash our checks and reach for the next position and task. The gentleman lost 2 days' pay for absolutely no reason other than he wanted to get in the last word on something that should have been as easy as saying something like, I know what you're saying, and I'll check with someone next time. It would be done. It would have all been over with. On a much more typical note, I had the honor of working with 4 young men heading to their goals of leadership. It's going to be really exciting working with them over the next quarter, and I'll be sure and share how well they're doing as they progress to their future leads and supervisor roles. If you have a customer service or setting the plate story or promotion or advancement you'd like to share with our group, shoot me an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasAcareer.com, and I'll put it in a show. Maybe we can all learn from it and save an era on one of our parts. Thanks for listening in today. Please post on our Twitter and Facebook pages if you found or heard anything interesting, and tell a friend about our program. Have a great week. Speak up at your startup safety meeting tomorrow. Get noticed and get on your supervisor's radar as that employee that's really interested in a culture of safety.